all together.
I think I'm wearing stripes as well.
Yeah, it's all about stripy season now, isn't it? Stripy
It
season.
is
Cuddly
cozy
jumpers.
season. Yeah.
Yeah. How are you feeling after having had COVID?
I feel fine. I feel like I'm getting over it quite well. It's just more of the intermittent cough that's kind of alerts people that you're at least ill or you've been ill. So I can't wait for that to go.
Oh, I know. That's usually the thing that lingers. Well, it does for me for months on end, and I'm like, stop already.
Yeah,
So,
you're like, I swear I was ill months ago. This is not
yeah,
ill again.
yeah, annoying.
Yeah, it is. I've been taking all the ailments that you can think of.
Yeah.
So they've been working their magic actually. I was the second day I was absolutely like I was so much better.
Oh,
But it just sort
wow.
of turned into like a cold.
Hmm.
So like burdock root. I don't know if you've heard of that. Lots of
No.
vitamin C. Yeah, it's really high in vitamin C. It's something that I used when I was living in Vietnam.
Hmm.
Really helped me because I kept getting sick and sick a lot. And I think
Yeah.
as well because of where the place is and you've got lots of pollution and stuff, it really helped me at least get over anything. So yeah, and then I had like apple cider vinegar. That was quite good.
Ah, just pure. Like, did you just have it as a shot?
Yeah,
Ah,
my brother introduced me to that actually, and he was saying it's really helped him through like some winter months and stuff. So yeah, my
amazing.
flatmate at the time was like, "Can I have some?" I was like, "Sure." It's massive. Just
Wow.
go for it. Yeah, so she
Okay.
really liked that.
No, I like
Yeah.
that. That's quite nice actually, because I'm always thinking of remedies with the kids and like what I can give them. So I always up there, probably I'll start now. I'd give them kind of a multivitamin each
Mhm.
day just to kind of boost them a little bit because they're not out in the sun as much. And so
Yeah.
that's kind of one of the things that I focus on for them. But I'm always looking for kind of things that you can kind of increase. In fact, I've been watching with Andy. I think it's a program on BBC, and it's about the blue zones. I don't know if
Okay.
it's a really interesting program, and it's all about actually health areas in the world where there's these particular zones where there's a high proportion of centurions and why that is. And he basically goes around all these different continents and specific countries where there's like a really, really high population of like up to 100 and 100 plus. And, you know, they're not on medication. They've got, you know, some of them are still like riding on horses and like
Wow.
managing their ranches, and you know,
Yeah.
it's crazy stuff, but it's really, really interesting to see what basic things they do in their lives that are
Mm.
not kind of, you know, all these faddy things that people get into, but are just actually, they just live their lives in a very natural way.
Mhm.
And through the simple things that they put in and the things they do, their lives just carry on and on and on. And some of it is just simple things like community and really simple foods. Like there was one we watched and it was about one of the things was sweet potato, like purple sweet potato.
Oh
And
wow.
apparently nutrients in that like is one of their like staple diet things, and apparently has huge health benefits. And I'm just like, oh, add a little bit of purple sweet potato to my diet. Do you know what I
Start
mean? But it's
growing it
just,
immediately.
yeah, I'm just like, come on, get in the garden, let's go. But it's just interesting to see actually what, you know, because sometimes I can get caught up in all sorts of like, oh, this and this, and you can get really overwhelmed, can't you, of like, what does your body most need? And yeah, but anyway, but it's good to hear about the things that you've just said, because I think those are simple changes you can make that are help your immune
Beneficial.
system, definitely, as
Exactly.
I could
Yeah.
tell by how you're looking. So I wouldn't expect that you had COVID about a week ago, so
Oh, thank you very much. It's the makeup, it really is. So why don't we start with like when did natural beauty become important to you?
Yeah. So I would say I fell pregnant with Alfie, my firstborn. So he was born in 2013. So I've always had an interest in it because it's been, my mum was kind of interested in aromatherapy mainly. So I always remember driving to school and she would put flipping rosemary on like this tissue in the car, and it would just stink out the car and it would give me a headache. And she would always say, oh, I'm doing it because it's meant to be really good to make your brain think better. So I think she deep down had a little bit of anxiety that we're all a bit stupid. So she was just like, our brain's working better. So I always remember that kind of being in the background. So I was always interested, but didn't really look into it or anything. And then when I fell pregnant with Alfie, inevitably when you're pregnant, your hormones start changing, and my body started reacting to like all the mainstream products I was using at the time. And a lot of it was to do with the fragrance. It just made me feel really sick, couldn't go near it. And it was about that time, really, before we started the Nathalie Bond stuff. Andy and I were doing, we'd already started experimenting with like another project that we thought might turn into a business, and it didn't in the end. And then Andy said, oh, well, you're always burning candles. Why don't we just, do some candles on our stove in the kitchen in Sheffield? And it was then that I kind of fell pregnant. And at that point, we were using kind of like fragrance to put into the candles. And they were really, really strong fragrances. And we were just about to take them to this like local Christmas market. So I was like, well, we can't not sell them. So we went and sold them, and it did really, really well. But I said to Andy, and I just don't think I want to sell these candles. They make me feel sick. And if I'm going to sell them, I need to actually like them.
Yeah.
So that's when I started looking into it, really. I started just looking really simply into like synthetic versus natural. And suddenly this whole world just opened up to me. And I was looking at kind of alternative options. And at that point, so that would have been maybe like 10, 11 years ago, maybe 12 years ago now, when we were sort of doing the research side of it, I just realized there wasn't a huge amount of options out there that were mainstream. So you'd have like Neil's Yard and things like that around then. But options where I felt like actually you're meeting a consumer market which can't maybe afford the really high luxury end, but you wanted to be able to reach a market that could still access natural products and natural candles. So really, we just started experimenting with essential oils, really simple essential oils, because we didn't really have training or background in it or anything. It was just stuff that I was looking at on the internet, and Andy was kind of like looking at what we could source to kind of make it. So that's really where my interest in the natural industry started. And I just slowly started pulling back on things that we were having in the home. So that was like candles, paraffin particularly, because I just thought, actually, well, if we're burning paraffin, why are we burning paraffin? So we then started thinking about alternative waxes you could have, and then it was the actual fragrance as well. So thinking, actually, if we're going to burn something, why don't we burn something that's actually therapeutically beneficial as well? So the whole process probably started about 12 years ago ish.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did you ever think back then that you would be where you are now? Move back to North Wales, got a successful brand. Like, what did you think it would look like from those early stages? Or did you think that it would grow to be such a success?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a really, really, I'm not going to be fake about it. It's an incredibly hard industry at the moment to kind of stay in and to keep sustaining yourself in. Like, Andy and I are not natural business people, so we've never been driven to kind of create a huge brand. And we've always wanted to kind of maintain that smaller industry, handmade niche market. But I think when we first started, really, it was a huge step of faith, because Andy was he was employed as a kind of a designer, and he had a full-time job. And originally we thought, well, maybe they'll let you go down to 4 days a week so we can build it up. And they were like, nope, not going to happen. So we just thought, okay, well, either we take the step of faith, take a little bit of our savings, and we just go for it, or we'll never try, and then we'll never know where it goes. So I'd say the first 2 years, we made very, very little money. And then we started going to trade shows. And I think when we started getting ourselves in front of the kind of trade customers, that's when things started building up. But we've never we've teetered on the kind of corporate world, but it's an industry that is really difficult for small businesses to succeed in, because their margins are just rubbish. You're having to flog yourself to kind of be there, and actually it's not really something that we massively pursued. So I'd say that our success has really been more about the customer loyalty that we've built, and I think that's been sad in the last year with Brexit and the energy crisis and price hikes and all sorts. The amount of our lovely stockists that have had to shut shop because they just can't keep going. And I just feel like that for me is where our heart is. So I think, yes, there's been growth, but I think for us it's been that kind of like the growth that I've enjoyed the most is people beginning to understand the beauty of natural, the beauty of kind of essential oils, the beauty of aromatherapy, like the beauty of just stripping back and coming away from all that mainstream like marketing and stuff. So I think for me, that's what the success has come, because in many ways you can look at our kind of like social media following and all that stuff and think, oh, well, you know, you should have grown this amount in this period of time, or your algorithms and all these things. But I just feel like for me, running a business is so much bigger than that. And if it becomes about that, then it takes the heart away, doesn't it, of like why you're here. So I think from that perspective, the growth that we've made, I've appreciated, because the people we are working with are actually in it with us, rather than just kind of like ticking the box. I've got a nice product on my shelf which looks pink and purple. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah.
Don't know if that kind of responds to what you're asking.
No, definitely. I tried some of your products a few years ago before I'd even like knew that you were in North Wales. And I remember looking at the branding, and I was thinking from like my perspective as a marketer, how identifiable natural beauty brands have become over the last, I would say, 6 years. I think it's been really nice. I don't know about you, seeing more beauty products within sort of supermarkets, within sort of mainstream stores. Obviously you've got your stockists as well, but I just think not everyone goes into the cute little shops that, you know, that are in these gorgeous towns that people visit. You know, they want to see them in their supermarkets, because those are the kind of things that you want people to stock. You want people to have more knowledge about natural beauty and the benefits of it, not just, like you said, buying a product that looks nice on your shelf. It's not for you, it's not about that. And certainly when I switched to, you know, to natural beauty, it's a journey, because it's not something that you can just throw out all your products. But I think when you start looking into the ingredients and then the reasons why, for instance, your branding is the way it is, it's clear, it's clean, there's kind of like a bit, there's like an honesty about it as well, which I think that I really like about natural brands, is that their honesty and approach.
I think definitely, I agree with you that the market is definitely is increasing. Like in some ways, like the natural industry is starting to move and take over. I remember doing like a trade show. It was like a natural and organic trade show in somewhere in London. It's like an annual one, and we did it once. And I remember someone talking there about the kind of trends in the market and how, you know, we're moving towards this is really where the industry is at now, increasingly. But I think the difficulty in that is when the bigger players kind of come onto the scene and catch hold of something, they will kind of try and facilitate an offering within their range that's natural. But it's really difficult to kind of educate consumers that just because it says natural on it doesn't necessarily mean it's natural on it. And I think actually it takes a lot of time to kind of, even, let's say, for example, you're looking at the ingredients listing, just as this is just like legal stuff, but by law you have to have the Latin INSEE name in the ingredients listing. And the frustrating thing that is that, so they'll be offering it, but unless a consumer can go out of their way to look up what the English alternative to that name is, it's very difficult to actually know what the ingredient is. So one of my rule of thumbs is, if I'm looking at an ingredients listing and the ingredients list go maybe beyond 6 to 8 ingredients, I start questioning, because I'm like, well, why does it need that many ingredients in it? Unless it's like an essential oil, or it's a particular kind of like base oil that is needed, or there's different benefits to, I mean, you can have argan oil and jojoba oil in a product, that's fine. But once I start seeing a lot of the E numbers, or the kind of all the different, you know, numbers where I think, what is that ingredient, it takes me a lot of time. And I'm thinking, actually, for someone who's just going into a shop and who's basically just doing their weekly shop and wants to pick up a natural product, they're literally just going to go natural shampoo, put it in their bot, and they're not going to think about it. It is, even though I think it's great that there's more and more products going on the shelves into mainstream like supermarkets and things, I still feel like there's a lot of work to do to help the natural industry and also the smaller market to be able to stand their own within that industry. And I don't have the answers to that, because I'm not in that industry. I'm not in that kind of like legal and, you know, field, but I feel like there's still a lot of work to do to kind of bring transparency into that. So yeah, that's kind of, those are my thoughts in response to that, really.
Do you think then there's a space for educational videos on platforms like Instagram and TikTok that are being used to sell products blindly, I think, based on follower count? Do you think there's more space for platforms to have more sort of educational videos that talk about, you know, for instance, the difference between natural ingredients and those that are often in the products that were used, that, you know, it can be quite toxic? I mean, you were talking about previous products kind of messing with you when you were like pregnant and stuff like that, but I've really struggled throughout since I was like in my teens. I didn't really wear much makeup during high school, and then sort of college, when I did, I was putting all sorts on my skin, you know, the traditional kind of like moussey kind of foundation that was never matched my actual neck, but besides that, it was really toxic for my skin. The amount of spots, and they were so painful that I had. I remember pleading to my friends, how is your skin? How does your skin look like that? You're using the same products as me, but I have a very, you know, a sensitivity clearly to some of these ingredients. And I remember it wasn't until another friend of mine sort of said, you know, why don't you just not wear makeup, eliminate all of that, and then write a diary about what you're reacting to. And it wasn't really until I started to look at the ingredients, go use these various apps and look at what I was putting on my skin. And now I have pretty clear skin. I don't wear any makeup besides the days that I need to. But, you know, it was years and years where I felt like I needed makeup. And I was talking to my niece recently, and she was saying, I can't go to school without makeup, Auntie Beth. And I'm like, oh yeah, I remember feeling like that, but hopefully in a couple of years you won't feel like you need to. And she doesn't, she has quite clear skin as well, so I think it's also like a confidence thing, like you know, the products that we're using, the makeup, the cleansers, the toners. I mean, I didn't know what I was supposed to be putting on my skin back then, and it's only now that I'm like, okay, essential oils are really good for like aging skin, for cleansing skin. It's not just, when I was young, it was like, oh, those oils that you put on your face, that's what my mum uses, I don't need to wear them. There's I think there's a, I don't know about you, but I don't know if there's a stage, do you think, where kids, you know, like, should teenagers be using more essential oils on their skin to cleanse, more natural products?
I think it's so much. See, for me, like, I feel like I have women coming up to me saying, hi, I've got aging skin, have you got a product for my aging skin, right? So that typical example. And I feel like this is an age-long problem for women, full stop, across the ages, that there's this thing of like body confidence and not being enough, and there's always something that can be changed. I mean, I look across even where we live here in Wales, the amount of beauty salons, and it's all about fillers and this and that and the other now. And I think it's just become this saturated market where, again, people are just making the most of a marketing ploy. Women are never going to change, wanting to look younger, wanting to look better. So I feel like, for me, it's a much, sorry, we're actually in the shop area, which is why it's a bit noisy. So it's basically, for me, that you have to look at the root issue. So it's not, you can't personally, and I feel like I've got a daughter, I'm going to want to educate her on, you know, why is it that you're feeling that way? Where is that coming from? And if you know, for me, it's things like the amount of kids now that are on social media. You're looking at the music channels that they're looking at. You're looking at the women that are presented as these kind of sex objects, and you know, all this stuff. That's what's feeding the psychology, which then is feeding their need for products that are going to make them look better. And I think, whereas if you start from the root and you're saying, okay, well, let's look at this more holistically, like how you've been made is beautiful. Who's dictating your thought process? Where's that coming from? So I feel like, for me, it's about that. And then saying, actually, there is a place to feel feminine, and there is a place to, you know, want to have skin that isn't spotty, but let's look at well, what's your diet looking like, and actually how much time are you spending on a screen, and actually how much time are you actually going out and meeting a friend, how much time are you spending outdoors, like are you doing some exercise to help yourself feel stronger? Like for me, that's where I think I differ quite a bit. And when women come and ask me the question of, can I have something for my aging skin, I will say to them, you know, if you're wanting a brand who are going to tell you this product is going to make you age less by 10 years, you've come to the wrong person, because I don't really believe in that. What I do believe in is a holistic view of beauty. And actually, I don't have a problem with aging. I'm like, we're all going to age. Like we can try and avoid it, but we're going to age, you know, so you can put fillers in and all sorts. But I'm like, at some point, your skin's going to show those fillers, and you're going to reach a point where you can't feel your skin anymore, because you know, that kind of facade is going to have to break because your skin can't cope with that. So I think for me, the answer to that is much bigger. So yes, I could say I think that if anything, I feel like for parents, it's kind of giving the kids the time when they're getting to that high school age where realistically, I know how I felt. I remember the amount of times I'd be sitting on my bedside crying on my sister's shoulder, being like, I've got all these spots and I don't know what to do with them. And then my response would be more products, get them off, more products, get them off. And my skin's going, I don't know what to do with all this stuff that you're dumping on me. And I'm there going, I just want to get rid of what's there. And I'm like, actually, if you've got someone who's a supportive role, so like you with your niece, you know, she comes up to you and says, Auntie Beth, I can't go to school with makeup. And you saying, well, wait a minute, sweetheart, like, where's that coming from? Like, why do you think that? And how can I help you to kind of undo that thinking a little bit and realize that all this, you know, Auntie Beth went through that, and actually when I stopped using makeup, this is what happened, you know, just to almost have a role model in those lives that are just that little bit ahead of them, and they can have honest conversations with, and they can have those moments where realistically you're going to have days where you feel a bit rubbish, and it's okay to have those days, but that doesn't mean you have to cover it up with a load of makeup. And that's probably my position when it comes to beauty, and I've had to learn that. I mean, I'm 40 and I still battle with those thoughts, but that doesn't mean that therefore I then want to kind of create almost like a subculture within the beauty industry where we say, right, well, we need to create more makeup products to kind of like compensate for all the you know, to have the non-chemical alternative to the chemical. It's actually saying there is a place for beauty, there's a place for femininity, and there's a place for us to be able to enjoy beautiful things. And, you know, I love putting, you know, the maca shimmer on my eyes because I just enjoy it. But actually, yes, that's a natural alternative. But if I'm doing that out of insecurity, then I think the insecurity is the thing that needs to be dealt with. So that's probably where I come from in it. I don't know how you're, I mean, obviously you've mentioned your niece as an example, but have you spoken to like school kids or school groups or anything like that?
I think it would be an amazing opportunity if one day I could work with educational bodies like schools or colleges and bring these conversations to them, at least have these sort of open conversations, not forcing anyone to switch from, you know, like when I was Abby's age, I used to wear a lot of makeup, like I've said, but I think like it's just being aware of how, like you said, why are you doing this? And do you know that these certain products could be causing you to feel this way about your skin because they've got these, you know, these certain chemicals that react. It's getting not just myself, but actual professionals to come in who understand about, you know, the way chemicals interact with each other, and they go, well, yeah, these might cause you to have acne, which then might make you feel more that you need to wear more makeup and stuff. And it's not even about selling products, it's just to bring in an awareness to how good that people like myself who have discovered natural alternatives to things, and thinking how good that is to one, the environment, and to us, and then, you know, two, to us as well, and then three, just having that knowledge and that power to go into a shop and go, well, I don't need to buy that. I don't have to buy it because I feel confident in my skin not wearing any makeup, or I might get this, or I might look into it online first before. I think it would be a powerful tool for more conversations like natural beauty within schools and even universities and things. I think it's just making people aware, like you said, people just see marketing, they see the natural ingredient made with a natural ingredient, they just think that's safe for me to use, that's better than what I've been using before. But that might not necessarily be true. I think so I think it's about empowering people, and from an earlier age. Like, I think last time we had a conversation, I was talking about sort of the toxic chemicals that we're putting on our skin and like period pads and things. And I wish there was natural period pads about years ago. And you know, when you think about the core that they have within the pad that obviously absorbs everything, and now I buy these natural ones, but before I've known friends who are like allergic to certain pads, and then they've gone, well, out to go to the doctors. It's, you know, it's kind of causing more stress basically at a time when you've got so much to think about, you've got so much to like, what career do I want? Oh, these, you know, God forbid anyone gets bullied, it's not a nice time, but you do have things like bullies, or you want to look like this person that you see on the magazine, and then you want to wear these clothes and you want to be liked, basically. I think most people do when they're in like sort of high school. So I just like having these sort of conversations with people who have been through it as well, and like yourself have developed a product that can help people feel better about themselves, and then also just who are interested in whatever reason, whether it is for like aging or whatever reason they're coming into your shop, it's with a different intention because they know more about the natural community.
I mean, I think even, you know, one of the campaigns that had a huge impact on me, I can't remember like how long ago it was now, but it was the Dove campaign of body, like the body image campaign. And I think that was massive at the time, because there wasn't anyone out there who, you know, at that point, the model industry was like, you need to be a size 8 to kind of look good. And I feel like they really came against that. And it was a really helpful point in the beauty industry where things started, the communication channel started just opening up a bit more about, well, why do we accept this? Why is this normal? Why is airbrushing normal? And why can't bodies just be bodies? And why can't there be? So like, we were even having a discussion in the car the other day, and I had never realized this before. I mean, maybe I'm just a bit special and I don't realize these things, but we were talking about symmetry in the face, and that I've never looked at my face before and realized that no one's face is symmetrical. And I was like, oh, really? And then we were talking about like Disney, you know, movies, all the princesses and things, they have beautifully symmetrical faces. And we were talking about like, well, why is that? So, you know, you've got all these young girls who are like looking at these beautiful, like, and I know they're cartoons, but they're looking at like Disney princesses and they're thinking, oh, you know, look, this, that, and what the other. And I was like, oh, I've never thought about that before. But it was just a really interesting observation that we were talking about in the car. And I thought, oh yeah, like that is incredible. And again, like weirdly, I had a conversation with a friend of mine last week. I think it was, we were walking to work together, and she was saying to me, yeah, this you're on my bad side. And I was like, what are you talking about, bad side? And she was just like, you know, I've got like, you're on my like the side of my face that I don't like as much. And I was like, you've got a side of your face that you don't like as much. She was like, yeah, this side you're walking. And I was like, you're absolutely ridiculous. And she was like, no, seriously, it's my thing, it's a thing. And I was like, wow, like it, I guess at that point I felt a little bit out of tune of like, really, people go to that level of scrutiny on their body and on their face, that they will look at a part of their body and they'll say, no, when I have a photo taken, I do this because I want to have the good side. But yeah, that is the culture and the psychology of what people believe. And I feel like as a natural beauty industry, as well as providing products that can kind of still facilitate and create a space for looking feminine and beautiful, I do feel like we've got a real power in the voice that we use and how we communicate. So I, like a lot of what I've been putting on Instagram recently has been much more about the holistic side of it, and why we only use, you know, small amount of ingredients rather than lots and lots of ingredients, and kind of just looking at helping customers to understand. And we've got a small platform that we're communicating from, but if all the small industries did that and there was a unified voice, you hope that in time the bigger bodies will pick up on that and actually start communicating a similar message, rather than just really tapping into a very vulnerable market. So I would say that kind of like secondary school market, they're hugely vulnerable, and realistically the beauty industry are like, tap in on that, let's make a bit of money. And I'm like, that makes me feel angry and cross, really. And I hope that we'll be able to educate our kids and saying, well, wait a minute, let's use our brains here. Let's not just, you know, because again, like there's someone here, I won't name names and things, but someone in this area who runs a kind of beauty salon where it's all about pumping in silicone and whatever they're doing. And I'm like, there are girls walking in there, they can't be more than 16, 17. And I'm like, you're starting them now, they're going to carry on because they won't have an alternative but to keep going, because their skin will need that pumping up. And I'm like, oh, that's how I feel about it. You know what I mean? Like, that's the kind of reality of the world that we're living in, sadly. So
well, it's good that there's more companies coming out like yourselves who have products that can help people, and it might not be everyone yet, but it's watch this space, I guess, for the natural beauty community. I think it's time that we do have more conversations like this that are opening eyes, and maybe just getting people to click on a website that they might not think to click on, or look at a shampoo bottle, for instance, and then click on something or search one of the ingredients and go, well, actually, why are there so many ingredients in this? Do I need these? Is there an alternative that is, 1, going to be better for the environment, 2, better for me, and 3, save me money? Because we all know the cost of living is pushing people towards those cheaper products that corporations are just going to monopolize on that. But well, it's been lovely chatting to you. Thank you so much for speaking with me.
Thank you for having me.
No, thank you for joining me. It's really important to have these conversations, and I'm really lucky that you only live in the next village, so I'll have to pop into the shops soon.
Yeah, that'd be lovely. Thank you so much.
No worries. Thanks. Bye, Natalie. Bye.